For about 10 seconds it probably sounded pretty good. "We will put the foreigners at the back of the queue," thundered Julia Gillard to an audience of Labor Party faithful in Parramatta, and they all cheered. But when the cheering stopped, people started to wonder about just what she meant. The foreigners to whom she was referring were presumably overseas workers on 457 visas, permits which are allocated to workers to fill jobs which Australian workers aren't capable or aren't willing to fill. They're not doled out to anybody who wants them, and they're certainly not aimed at putting the foreigners at the front of the queue. Rather, they're only allocated as a last resort when employers simply can't get workers with the skills to fill the jobs that are vacant. And given that Australian unemployment is at a very historic low at the moment, it's hardly surprising, in the mining boom and other booms coming after it, that more workers are needed. The problem, of course, with Julia Gillard's line is it sounds terribly like the kind of dog whistling we've grown to associate with the Coalition and their attacks on asylum seekers. Julia Gillard had been occupying the high moral ground after the appalling Scott Morrison had suggested we should treat asylum seekers like pedophiles. That was widely and correctly condemned by every normal person. But by then lapsing into the same area of xenophobia, foreigner bad, Australian good, Julia Gillard risked putting herself in that same abysmal category, and so of course the commentators ran it. The point is that 457 visas are not taking Australian jobs. They are in fact filling gaps and improving the Australian economy. There have been isolated cases where employers have tried to exploit them by underpaying the foreign workers. Note, not overpaying them, which would really be taking Australian jobs, but underpaying them. And in that case, complaints have been issued, but not too bloody many of them. Less than 100 after more than 100,000 457 visas had been issued. Now, if the system was really being rorted, you can bet the unions would have let us know. It isn't. It's being rorted probably less than most Australian ideas, and Julia Gillard simply attacked the wrong horse in this case. She went for a straw man she set up herself, and in doing so, debased herself, lowered herself to the status of the opposition. It was not a good way to win the West. It certainly was a lousy way to win the rest of Australia. I'm Mungo McCallum.